Hi, my name is Sarah Philman, and I'm the Pre-Health Career Coach here at UCCS in the Career and Innovation Center. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about pre-health and what that journey might look like for you both now and in the future when you start college. We're going to go over a lot of different things, so let's go ahead and get started. So this is just an overview of some of the things that we're going to talk about. So first, why healthcare? It's going to be really important to know how to answer this question, especially if you want to go pre-med, pre-PA, pre-PT, pre-OT, pre-dental, pre-pharmacy, medical lab sciences, pre-pharmacy. I don't think I'm missing any, but these are kind of the pre-professional tracks of the students that I work with. And answering this question of why is a really, really important factor for all of these students I meet with. Also exploring and finding out as much as you can now about the professional fields in healthcare, and that will also help you in answering your why if you can understand the profession early. Thinking about what matters most to you. So what you do as soon as you graduate high school can impact your professional school application. So lean into the things that you love. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Who is your support system? Who are the people that are going to support you along the journey, because it is a long and it is very hard to take this path. So who's in your corner? And then also going over some best early tips and things that can really help you set yourself up for success. So the question of why, not only why healthcare, but why medicine, why this specific professional track? What is your why? This can have a really major impact on if you're accepted into medical or professional school. So if I ask you right now, why do you want to be a doctor? Why do you want to be a pharmacist? Why do you want to be a dentist? Why do you want to be a veterinarian? Your answer might sound something like this. I really want to help people. I know I want to be in a helping role. Or I really like science. I'm good at chemistry and biology. Or maybe it's my insert the name of a family member here is a physician and they really like it. If any of these above are true, that's okay. That's great. That's not going to hinder you. Unless that's your only answer, in which case it absolutely can hinder you. You need to have a deeper reason for why you want to go into this path, because it is a path of lifelong service. It's more than just, my sister does it and she likes it, so I think I'll like it too. You need to definitely have a deeper reason and goal and purpose. So when you're thinking about answering that why, it's really important to know exactly what they want in an applicant. So the AAMC, which is the American Association of Medical Colleges, I think that's the name of the acronym, but the AAMC, a really, really important resource. This is specific to medical school. But these are the 15 core competencies of what they're looking for in each applicant. I can go through each one of these individually, but one thing I really want you to notice is it's not just going to be competencies that they're able to see in your metrics, meaning in your grades. Some of these, absolutely. They'll be able to see what your grades are and know that you have a high competency in those areas, but some not. So they're going to be looking at other things you've done, your experiences, and they're going to be looking at some of these other competencies, such as interpersonal skills, oral communication, service orientation, social skills. Some of these things you aren't going to be able to see just by having a really good MCAT score. So these are going to come through in your volunteer experiences, your leadership experiences, your work experiences, clinical experiences, things like that, which you're going to be able to indicate in your application. But these are just really, really important, and this is not just specific to med school. I think these are good competencies to know and to develop in overall, no matter what journey you want to take in healthcare. So maybe you know you want to work in healthcare, but you're not quite sure, or there are so many different professions within healthcare and you're not sure where you want to work or what you want to do, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay. I meet with a lot of students who sometimes are in their senior year and they're still trying to figure out where in healthcare they'd want to fit in. One thing that you can definitely can help alleviate some of that pressure is if you know for sure you want to go into healthcare, you know for sure you want to be a physician or a doctor, you don't actually have to choose a specialty until your third or fourth year of med school. So really the goal should be getting into med school. That's going to be the hardest hurdle once you get into college and you're on that track. But it's also good to know that there are many professions in healthcare that you can take. So maybe you think you want to go to med school and then you decide, in your sophomore year that you're not really sure that's the right path for you. That's okay. There are a lot of great fits within healthcare, and there are so many different positions and paths that you can take. So I think being knowledgeable just on what types of roles there are in healthcare, and that's doing your own research. But we're going to talk about some other ways you can explore. I think one thing is starting with exploring yourself and who you are and asking yourself some of these questions. What is your own personality type? What kind of specialty could you see yourself in long term? When you think about working in healthcare, what really excites you about it? Do you like interacting with diverse groups of people? Do you like interacting with people at all? That would be a really good indicator of if you prefer patient-facing roles or maybe not patient-facing roles, which there are a lot of roles where you never actually have to engage with patients. How do you feel about bodily fluids? What area of the body really interests you? Do you like discovery? Maybe research is something that you're really interested in. What type of treatment are you interested in? Allopathic, naturopathic, osteopathic? These are all three important factors when thinking about a role in healthcare, specifically in medical school. Is there a specific population that you want to serve? Do you really want to make an impact in one area? These are some questions that you can think about when exploring different areas of healthcare. So how can you find out if one of these paths is right for you? Maybe you've done the research, you understand more about what those different roles do, but really something that you can start doing early and often is shadowing or observing. What is shadowing? So there's a difference between shadowing and getting clinical hours and experience. Clinical experience is where you are working directly with patients and you are working hands-on in a patient-facing role. Shadowing is different. It's simply observing a medical professional in different specialties to learn about their day-to-day. So think about yourself as like a fly on the wall. You're there, you're not engaging with patients, you're not speaking unless spoken to, but you're really there to take notes and really observe the day-to-day of that specific professional that you're shadowing. It is more than just a requirement for admissions, but it allows you to get a better sense of what it's like to be a practicing doctor in the field that you're interested in. And it's a great way just to find out if a career in medicine is right for you. So how can you find shadowing or observation? Ask around, ask people around you, your family, your friends, your teachers, your own primary care providers. Doing some online searching and reaching out, always amplifying that you're a student and elevating that identity as a student is going to help. And if maybe shadowing in person is not right for you or you're not really getting a lot of opportunities, you can also ask for informational interviews. Informational interviews are a great way to maybe be virtual, or you can also be in person, maybe in their office. But you can ask some questions that you really do care about knowing the answers to. These are just a few examples, but what's a typical day like in your field? Why did you choose this path? What would you recommend that I do to prepare for a career in medicine? What do you like or dislike? What surprised you about med school? How's your work-life balance? So these are just some questions I think that would be a good start for an informational interview to get a clear sense of what that professional does. Also consider too that These are great things that you can do before you've graduated high school, but also continue to do so. Like I said, there's so many different paths in healthcare. See how many professionals you can actually connect with to get a better sense of what their roles are like. So building relationships and informational interviews also goes into this category too, I think, but getting involved, whether that's in your high school student organizations, athletics, hobbies, starting early and building on your own interests, and never stop doing what you love. I think it's a bit of a myth that applying to professional programs like med school or dental school or pharmacy school or whatever that looks like for you, that all they care about is your grades. Are your grades important? Absolutely, they're important. Yes, your metrics are a huge indicator of whether or not you'll actually be admitted into a professional program. But they want to know about you beyond healthcare, outside of healthcare and science and the things that you care about in those areas. But maybe you're an athlete. Maybe you're really interested in animals, or maybe you're a military dependent, or something like that. Can you get involved in an area that can really help build on your own identity? You can actually get a lot of great leadership experience by being in a chess club or biology club, or being an athlete and a leader on your team. So think about ways that you can also develop some of those 15 core competencies outside of healthcare. Connect with your teachers, your counselors, visiting during office hours, sharing your goals, keeping in touch, having mentorship and peer-to-peer connection. I think that a really important piece is helping. You are able to help others, and others are able to help you, just by helping develop good study habits and a routine. For college, it's important to maintain a high GPA. And it's really necessary to get into professional school. So those mentors and sometimes those peer-to-peer student relationships can really help. So volunteering. You can volunteer in a lot of different ways. I also just mentioned doing things that you love. That definitely translate to volunteering too. So doing things that you're passionate about and what matters to you. So a good question of, volunteering, consider volunteering in community service absolutely necessary once you've graduated high school to put on your application. And why is that? It's because you want to apply for a position where you'll be actually in a profession where you're in a service profession, and you will be leading a life of service, and you want to help people. So it's important to show and not just tell. You don't want to just say that that's your goal. Actually show that that's something you've been doing already. You can gain great qualities and skills while doing some of these different volunteer opportunities. You can network and build relationships in different volunteer opportunities. And you can lead in really impactful experiences to really help you answer that question of why. Where? So where can you get volunteer experience? There are so many different areas, and like I said, following the things that you really care about and love. Specific to healthcare, you can volunteer in hospitals, you can volunteer in small clinics or private practices, volunteering in hospice or nursing homes. There's always opportunities in those areas. You can volunteer in administrative work, clerical work, volunteering in a lab, volunteering in a classroom when you become a college student. So these are all just some examples. And how to volunteer effectively is important. It's more than just showing up. One thing that you should think about is consistency in your volunteering. So volunteering, even if it's a small amount over every week over a very long period of time, that's going to look a lot better than just like a 3-month volunteer opportunity. But while you're volunteering, be engaged and talk to people and build relationships. It can lead to sometimes really unique and impactful roles if people get to know you and know the things that you're interested in. Looking for leadership opportunities, being innovative, and being inquisitive and curious. So another really important factor is self-care. That's going to be finding the balance as a pre-health student. Being a pre-health student is very rigorous and demanding, but it doesn't have to be at the expense of your own self-care. So if you can figure out your study habits and time management really early, That's going to help you so much. Taking a gap year and considering the timeline, which we're going to talk about in just a second, you don't have to do all of these different experiences while also getting straight A's in college. Thinking about a gap year, and we're going to talk about that and the importance of a gap year. Having a healthy routine, exercising, having good wellness and nutrition, journaling and reflecting on all of your experiences. That's kind of a form of self-care, and gives you some experience in reflective writing. Doing what you love, that's also a great component of self-care. Do the things that you love and care about. Don't force yourself to fit into a box. And also understanding that you are not alone. And again, going back to connecting to the people who are also in the same path as you and can really understand, leaning into your support system, those are all really important factors as well. So the application timeline is important to consider. Okay, let me try to put this in the words that you can understand, because you are not in college yet. But once you get into college and you're obtaining all of these great experiences, you're keeping your GPA up really well, and prioritizing your grades and academics, it's important to consider the application to get into professional school. So the professional school application process can take 10 months to a year. So there's usually one cycle every year that opens. You'll apply during that cycle, ideally very early in that cycle, and then you wouldn't matriculate into the professional program that you're accepted to until almost a year later. Sometimes more than a year later, actually. So if you wanted to go straight from college right into medical school, you would actually be applying in the middle of your junior year. That's an important thing to take into account. However, gap years are very valuable, and medical schools like to see that you've taken at least one gap year in your application. Do students go straight into medical school right after graduating? Yes, absolutely. But sometimes that's not for everyone. And again, professional schools really do value seeing a gap year if you can make the most of your time and use that time wisely. You're going to have to list out 15 experiences in your application, and these experiences are really only valid if it's after high school. You can indicate really impactful experiences that you've had, sometimes in your personal statement, but not in the application of your experience section. Everything can take time. So time is really something and an important factor. It takes time to get a job. It takes time to get a volunteer experience. It takes time if you want to go on a study abroad experience or something like that. So really factoring that into your timeline. Also, another thing to consider too is that your high school AP courses may or may not be accepted by all medical programs. So you'll really want to look at each program, look at their website and their eligibility requirements, and work with your counselors in your high school to determine that for you and what's best for you and what classes to take in high school. And going back to the gap year, so I want to say there was a really high percentage of matriculants in the past cycle who took a minimum of 2 gap years. That means they weren't applying until after they'd graduated from college. And that's really to build up your application, get as much experience as you possibly can, and showcase those experiences in your application. It's just going to make you a better applicant. So if I could leave you with these top tips, these are some things that I would just advise you as you're not even in college yet, but it's really cool that you're thinking about being on a pre-health track early. And so here's some things I would say before you even get into college. So learning how to study, figuring out your best study habits, time management, that's going to be really crucial to your success. Understanding your timeline and the process of the application. There are a lot of great resources online. I'm going to show you our website here in just a second, and you can always refer to our website here at UCCS. Connecting and finding your peers who are on a similar path, connecting with your teachers, your mentors, your support system, and getting involved. And sometimes that just starts with asking the people around you. Knowing your why and being able to tell your story, knowing how to tell your story, and thinking about all the experiences that you're going to get after you graduate high school and how those are going to speak to your why. Your why can change, and that's okay. That's great if it does. That just helps you understand more about what you're doing and why you want to do it. And start journaling. So start documenting experiences and speaking to that answer of why, helping build out your mission statement. That's just going to help you in the application itself, but also helping you build out your experiences to speak to that. So I personally, I'm here at UCCS. You may not end up coming to UCCS, and that's okay. But it's going to be really important that you choose an undergraduate institution that has some sort of a pre-health support system in place. So reaching out early and often to their pre-health advisors, pre-health counselors is going to help you in setting yourself up for success. The things that I do with students is I work with job, internship, shadowing, volunteering, and placement. Resume cover letter, networking and info sessions are offered every semester. And then everything about the application process and that holistic applicant and getting into professional school. I look over a lot of personal essays, and the timeline starts early. So I start working with freshmen, and I'm working with students who are sometimes 3, 4, even 10 years out of, have already graduated and are alumni. And so these are just things that you'll want to think about and find that support service once you start college. So it was great to speak with you. I wish I was there in person, but I hope you're having a great time on our campus. And you can always email me with any follow-up questions. My email's there on the screen. If you also want to dive in and really learn more about the application process and preparation involved, you can find a lot of information at our website at career.uccs.edu. If you go to industry, you can find the pre-health and healthcare page. Feel free to connect with us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and there's a lot of great information online. So definitely don't stop learning, and good luck.